Is this meeting going? Jai Jinendra, everyone. Welcome to the November monthly meeting. Hope you had some good time off during Diwali, and hope you're looking forward to the Thanksgiving holidays. As always, for this meeting, just a couple of simple ground rules. Please mute your lines if you're not speaking. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat window. And also remember that we are recording this session to share with people who might not be able to attend. With that, I'll turn it over to our JSCNC President, Mr. Anand Shah. Over to you, Anand Bhai.
Thank you, Ketan. Jai Jinendra, everyone, and good morning. It's been a while we have met as a group, so I would like to welcome all of you. First of all, on behalf of the entire executive committee, I would like to wish everyone, happy New Year. Hindu Navu Varash has started. So badane Diwali, celebrations must have gone well, and we wish everyone a happy New Year, and also happy Thanksgiving in advance. Wherever you are, whatever your plans are, keep Jain values and compassion at the center of all of your preparations. We have a couple of segments later on where we will be reflecting on Thanksgiving. So with that, I would like to invite Artiben to lead us by reciting Mangalacharan and a few stavans. Artiben, over to you.
Thank you, Anand Bhai, and Jai Jinendra to all of you. Namo Arhantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvachayanam, Namo Loe Sava Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Sava Pava Panasano, Mangalanancha Savesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Chattari Mangalam, Arihanta Mangalam, Siddha Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, Kevali Pannato Dhammo Mangalam, Kevali Pannato Dhammo Mangalam, Chattari Loguttama, Arihanta Loguttama, Sita Loguttama, Sahu Loguttama, Kevali Pannato Dhammo Loguttamo, Kevali Pannato Dhammo Loguttamo, Chattari Sharanam Pavachami, Arihante Sharanam Pavachami, Siddhe Sharanam Pavachami, Sahu Sharanam Pavachami, Kevali Pannatam Dhammam Sharanam Pavachami. Samaro mantra bhalo navakare che chauda puravano sar ena mahimano nahi par eno artha ananta apar Sukhama samaro dukhama samaro samaro દિવસ ને રાત જીવતા સમરો મરતા સમરો સમરો શ્રી સૌ સંગાથ સમરો મંત્ર ભલો નવકાર એ છે 14 પુરવનો સાર જોગી સમરે ભોગી સમરે સમરે રાજા રંગ દેવો સમરે દાનવ સમરે, સમરે સૌ નિશંક સમરો, મંત્ર ભલો નવકાર, એ છે 14 પુરવનો સાર. 68 અક્ષર એના જાણો, 68 તીરથ સાર. 8 સંપદાથી પરમાણો, 68 દાતાર સમરો, મંત્ર ભલો નવકાર, એ છે 14 પુરવનો સાર. 9 પદ એના નવનિધિ આપે, ભવો ભવના દુઃખ કાપે. વીર વચનથી હૃદય સ્થાપે, પરમાત્મ પદ આપે સમરો, મંત્ર ભલો નવકાર, એ છે 14 પુરવનો સાર. એના મહિમાનો નહીં પાર, એનો અર્થ અનંત પાર. મૈત્રી ભાવનું પવિત્ર ઝરણું મુજ હૈયામાં વહ્યા કરે. શુભ થાઓ સકળ વિશ્વનું, એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે. ગુણથી ભરેલા ગુણીજન દેખી, હૈયું મારું નૃત્ય કરે. એ સંતોના ચરણ કમળમાં મુજ જીવનનો અર્ધ્ય રહે. દીન ક્રૂર ને ધર્મ વિહોણા, દેખી દિલમાં દર્દ રહે. કરુણા ભીની આંખોમાંથી અશ્રુનો શુભ સ્રોત વહે, અશ્રુનો શુભ સ્રોત વહે. માર્ગ ભૂલેલા નિજન જીવને, માર્ગ ચિંધવા ઉભો રહું. કરે ઉપેક્ષા એ માર્ગની, તોય સમતા ચિત્ત ધરું. ચંદ્ર પ્રભુની ધર્મ ભાવના, હૈયે સૌ માનવ લાવે. વેર ઝેરના પાપ તજીને, મંગળ ગીતો એ ગાવે. પ્રભુ મંગલ ગીતો એ ગાવે. મૈત્રી ભાવનું પવિત્ર ઝરણું મુજ હૈયામાં વહ્યા કરે. શુભ થાઓ સકલ વિશ્વનું, એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે. એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે. બહુ પુણ્ય કેરા પૂંજથી, શુભ દેહ માનવ નો મળ્યો. તોય રે ભવ ચક્રનો આટો નહીં કે ટળ્યો. સુખ પ્રાપ્ત કરતા સુખ ઢળે છે, લેશ એ લક્ષે લહો. ક્ષણ ક્ષણ ભયંકર ભાવ મરણે, કાહો રાચી રહો. લક્ષ્મી અને અધિકાર વધતા, શું વધ્યું તે તો કહો. શું કુટુંબ કે પરિવારથી, વધવાપણું એ નય ગ્રહો. વધવાપણું સંસારનું નર, દેહને હારી જવો. એનો વિચાર નહીં અહો, એક પળ તમને હવો, નિર્દોષ સુખ નિર્દોષ આનંદ, લ્યો ગમે ત્યાંથી ભલે. એ દિવ્ય શક્તિ માન જેથી જંજીરેથી નીકળે, પર વસ્તુમાં નહીં મૂંઝવો હે, દયા મુજને રહી. એ ત્યાગવા સિદ્ધાંત કે પશ્ચાત દુઃખ તે સુખ નહીં. હું કોણ છું, ક્યાંથી થયો છું, સ્વરૂપ છે મારું ખરું. કોના સંબંધે વળગણા છે, રાખું કે પરહરું. એના વિચાર વિવેક પૂર્વક શાંત ભાવે જો કર્યા, તો સર્વાત્મિક જ્ઞાનના સિદ્ધાંત તત્વ અનુભવ્યા. તે પ્રાપ્ત કરવા વચન કોનું, સત્ય કેવળ માનવું. નિર્દોષ નરનું કથન માનો, દેહ જેણે અનુભવ્યું. રે આત્મ તારો શીઘ્ર એને ઓળખો. સર્વાત્મમાં સમદ્રષ્ટિ દ્યો, વચનને હૃદયે લખો. સર્વાત્મમાં સમદ્રષ્ટિ દ્યો, વચનને હૃદયે લખો. આ વચનને હૃદયે લખો.
Thank you. If Artiben, if you would like to recite the Panch Parameshti, and after that we can take a couple more stavans. So anyone who is dialed in, if you would like to recite a stavan, once Artiben is done, just unmute your mic and you can go next.
આ સ્તવન પણ પંચ પરમેષ્ઠીનું જ છે, અને પાંચે પરમેષ્ઠીના જે ગુણ છે એ આપણામાં પણ પડેલા છે, અને સ્વભાવમાં અને પર્યાયથી પ્રગટ કરવા માટે. અને એ જે સિદ્ધભૂમિ છે એનો શું મહિમા છે, અને આપણા દિલની એક જ ઈચ્છા જે રહેવી જોઈએ કે જ્યાં શ્રી પ્રભુ ત્યાં મારો વાસ કેવી રીતે થાય. सकल मंगल मही मंगल, प्रथम मंगल गणो जने. प्रभु जे પાંચ પરમેષ્ઠી નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. અરિહંતો જીનેશ્વર જે જીતીને રાગ દ્વેષોને, વર્યા છે જ્ઞાન કેવળને. નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. વળી જે સિદ્ધ પરમાત્મા કરીને ભસ્મ કર્મોને, બિરાજ્યા મુક્તિ પદમાં જે. નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. ધરી ચારિત્ર આચાર્યો ધરાવે ભવ્ય જીવોને, નિવારે કર્મના મળને. નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. ભણાવે જે ઉપાધ્યાયો સકળ સિદ્ધાંત સમજીને, રમે છે જ્ઞાનના દાને. નમું છું ભાવથી તેને અખિલ લોકે મુનિ રાજો જગતના મોહ મારીને ગુથાયા આત્મશુદ્ધિમાં નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. આ પંચપરમેષ્ઠીના જે એ લોકો જે કરે છે એના ગુણનો આપણે ગાયું. હવે આપણે શું ઈચ્છવાનું છે એમાં બતાવે છે, અમારી આત્મશુદ્ધિનો વહાલો મંત્ર બોલીને હવે એવા અમર પદને નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. પ્રભુનું જ્ઞાન ત્યાં હોજો, શિરે ફરમાર ત્યાં હોજો, તમારી શિવ ભૂમિ જ્યાં અમારો વાસ ત્યાં હોજો. નથી રાગી નથી દ્વેષી, નિરાગી છો ખૂબી જિનની, રહીશું ત્યાં સેવીશું ત્યાં, સેવક સુખતાર ત્યાં હોજો. પડ્યા શ્રી વીરના ચરણો, થતી જ્યાં જ્ઞાનની કેડી, જન્મએ ધામમાં મારો દયાના નાથ ત્યાં હોજો. અનંત સુખ જ્યાં ભર્યું, ખૂબી એ સિદ્ધ ભૂમિની, પ્રભુએ ધામ દેખાડો, જીવન ઉપહાર ત્યાં હોજો. સકલ મંગલ મહી મંગલ, પ્રથમ મંગલ ગણું જેને, પ્રભુ જે પાંચ પરમેષ્ઠી નમું છું ભાવથી તેને. Thank you.
Thank you. If someone would like to lead any stavans, please go ahead and unmute your mic. Okay, all right. Looks like we don't have anyone today, so let us get into the next segment of our meeting. So it is with immense pleasure that I would like to introduce today's scholar who is going to be leading the discourse portion of the meeting. So Rajan Bhai Doshi, he is today's speaker. He is, on the camera, as you can see. He has collected great thoughts on how to live a modern, joyful life with Jain principles. As you know, the human life is considered the most precious form of life according to Jainism. So given that, now is our opportunity to build a true wealth, not only for our current life, but wealth that will carry on to future lives in our future births. So that's kind of a detailed kind of a summary look at his topic. He's presented, he's gotten a great set of slides and thoughts. Just a little bit of an introduction for those of you who may not know him. His foundation was established by his mother. She was a devout Shravika and a tapasvi. As a child, Rajan Bhai attended Sri Godiji Jain Pathshala and Babu Pannaman Jain School. They are both renowned institutions in Mumbai. Subsequently, he has continued to build his Jainism knowledge over the years through various discourses at JSCNC and Jaina, through interactions with local and visiting scholars, and obviously through self-study and reflection, right, which is one of the founding principles of JSCNC is self-reflection. Professionally, he works for a Boston-based company in the risk analytics area. So with that, I would like to welcome Rajan Bhai to lead the discourse. Over to you, Rajan Bhai.
Thank you, Anand, for that nice introduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So you should be able to see my slide. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, the best layout is side by side on your computer. If you are on a mobile device, you can use the equal layout, and it'll give you the best experience of what I'm going to present. So with that, once again, thank you, Anand, for that nice introduction. I'm Rajan Bhai, and let me get started. A few weeks back, Purvi Shah and Anand had organized a panel discussion for our youth, for our young professionals, age group of 20 to 40. And it was, was a very successful panel discussion, very lively meeting. And we had, of course, Purvi was the moderator. We had Karishma, we had Dipti dialing in from California. We had Shaunak, my son. We had Shalini, and many other in the audience on the listening to the panel. And I was actually inspired by the discussion in this panel, where these young people, this is the next generation of Jains. And unlike most of the attendees in today's meeting, see, this generation has grown up in USA. Most of us attending today's meeting, we were born in India. We had our foundation of Jainism from India, and now we are settled here. But our children's generation, this generation is born and brought up in the USA. They have a little different perspective. The key theme, the resonating theme of this panel was, this generation, they want to, live their life with Jain principles, but at the same time, see, they are young, they are building their career, they are building their families, they're building their life. So they don't want to be, bogged down with extreme theory and, the theoretical knowledge, the deep study of Agam and all that. That may come in future in their life as they get older. But for now, they want to live modern life with Jain principles. And, I can totally understand. Quickly, just let me get a feedback. Is everybody able to see my screen and able to hear me clearly? Anand, if you can unmute and tell, or anyone can unmute and tell me.
Yes, we can, Rajan. Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
super. Thank you so much, Mahesh bhai. Yeah. So, understandably, they don't want to be bogged down by theory, especially, see, if we talk about Bar Bhavna, Das Lakshan, 6 Dravyo, 5 Samiti, 3 Gupti, and all these things. It's just, it's just not that appealing to them. But at the same time, they want to follow the core principles of Jainism, ahimsa and everything else that goes with it. So that's one aspect that we explain to this younger generation the core principles without extremely detailed theory. And the other thing is we need to explain to them Jain principles in the context of modern life. So, there's some modernization needed, especially of the Jain way of life, the Reet Rivajo that have been going on for so many years. And so, there are two aspects. One is sort of, downplaying the theory, and the second is modernizing Jain practices, Jain way of living your life. You know, uh, that part is, it's easier said than done because, over years, pretty much since Mahavir's time, Reet Rivajo, rituals, and all of them have been created, have existed, have transformed. And, the way Jainism is practiced in India with respect to Reet Rivaj, rituals, a lot of that is not appropriate for this young generation. It may be partly appropriate for us older people. So, so I think we have to put in some effort to modernize the Jain practices and the Jain way of life. And, what exactly I mean by modernization is that, so we have to evaluate कि अपना रीत रिवाजों, are they driven by blind faith, blind following, wrong belief system, ignorance, lack of knowledge? It's like you're saying, આવી જ રીતે થતું આવ્યું છે, આપણે પણ આમ જ કરવાનું છે. We cannot make changes. This is how it's done in India. This is how, like, Mara Sahib, Mahasatiji, Shravak, Shravika, the Sangh in India do it. This is how we got to do it. We have to take a little bold approach and be able to challenge the status quo, and come up with some transformation, some modernization that's appropriate for the modern American society. Because we want our younger generation to succeed in their career, in their life, with their family, and we don't want them to be pulled down by rituals that may be 100, 200, 500 years old. So with that, as the backdrop, my presentation is driven with that approach. It's light on theory and more on practical aspects, more appropriate for modern life. Last year, I had done my first presentation to the Jain meeting, to our JSCNC Sangh. It was primarily about Nav Tattva. And again, back then also, my focus was less on theory, but more on practical aspects, especially with respect to modern life, how we live life in America. So let me move to my next slide. Any thoughts, comments, questions while I move to the next slide? Anyone? Okay. So my topic today is the spectrum of life, what we call Jeev. Jeev is, is the most fundamental element of Jainism. And ઉમા સ્વાતિનું જે નવતત્વનું જે છે નવતત્વનું creation. My Jeev is the very first fundamental element is Jeev, because when you have a Jeev, you have a soul, So we all are fortunate to have Manushya life. And we've been hearing throughout our life that Manushya life is, it's a very precious life. It's a very mushkil to obtain human life. In Gujarati કે છે કે દુર્લભ મનુષ્ય જીવન મળવું બહુ દુર્લભ છે. It is very rare, very special, and we don't always appreciate, because when I a few years back when I heard that Manushya life is very difficult to achieve and durlabh che, there is, we have 6 billion people on planet Earth. If you have 6 billion, how can it be that hard to achieve human life? Because you go to any big city, it's just, you go to New York Times Square, or you go to Tokyo Shibuya Square, you go to London Trafalgar Square, it's just packed with people. It's like there's no room. It's everyone is squeezing everybody else. There's so many people. And if Manushya life is so durlabh, so difficult, why do we have so many people on Earth? So let me answer that question. So what's the life below Manushya, lower than Manushya? So that's called Tiryanch in Jainism, in Jain Shastra. Tiryanch is, all your, this is all the animals, the birds, the fish. These are all, so Manushya is Panchindriya, Tiryanch also are Panchindriya Jiva. They have 5 senses. But, in the spectrum of life, we see so many different species of animals, birds, underwater, there's so many creatures underwater, so many different types of fish and all that. So just imagine that, we have 6 billion people on planet Earth. Just imagine how many animals, birds, fish, and all these, we would have on the Earth. Probably a far larger number, Let's go one level lower. So below Tiryanchi is what we call Chaurindriya or Charindriya Najivo. So this is, things like makhi, flies, honeybees, and wasps, and these insects are 4 indriya. So as I go down each level, just imagine that, compare in your mind that, okay, we have 6 billion humans, but how many 4 indriya jeeves will be there on planet Earth? Or how many tiryanch will be there on planet Earth? Scope one level below, terindriya, 3 indriya jeeves. So this is your insects like kidi, the ants, makodi, cockroaches, mosquitoes. These are all Tranindriya Najivo. Let's go one further down. To Beindriya Najivo. And these are even lower forms of life. These are like insects, the earthworm, and termites, and the tiny insects that you see in your yard and everywhere else. And so that's Beindriya Jivo. Below that is all the plants, all the vegetations. Again, these are all forms of life. And every piece of life, there is a Jeev and there is a Atma. So all the greenery you see around your house, around your town, everything has, these are all ekindriya jiva. Plants are single indriya. In Jain Shastra, they are further divided into what's called Pratyek Vanaspatikai and a Sadharan Vanaspatikai. Again, these are theoretical distinctions. Let me not, maybe we can discuss that later. But two broad categories of Vanaspati or plants, Pratyek and a Sadharan Kai. And let's go to the next lower level, microbes. These are your bacteria, your fungus, In Jain Shastra, they are called nigodna jivo. They are so minute, you don't see it you cannot see them with your eyes. But nonetheless, they are jeev, and if there is a jeev, there is a soul, So, and there is, countless microbes around us. Like I said, they are called nigodna jivo. They are also, apna Jain Sutrama, they are referred to as Upkai, Waukai, Teukai. So they are like airborne, they may be waterborne, they may be in ground, and these are, truly microjeeves, microbes, and bacteria, your salmonella, in your yogurt you have bacteria. They are beneficial to your health, but again, these are bacteria, and it's just numerous, right? In a tiny, what they say, on the tip of a needle, point, you can have hundreds of these microbes. They are so tiny, so small, So we started with the question, with 6 billion people, we think Manushya life is rare. It's hard to achieve. But imagine with all these other jeeves, what is the total number of jeev, total number of jeev or total number of lives on planet Earth. It is a mind-boggling number, you know. Just think about the house you are living in. Most of us have nice houses, and we have 2, 3, 4 human beings living in our house. But now think about the total number of jeev on your property. The birds in your yard, on your trees around you, the squirrels in your backyard, the insects around you, the plants, on your property. We all have nice lawns, lawn, આપણે ઘાસ જે હોય, grass, each blade of grass is one life. It's what's called it's pratyek vanaspati kai. Each blade of grass is it's one jeev, one soul. We have big yards, and so it's a dense thick lawn. Imagine how many lives you have on your property, and now you bring in your microbes, bacterias. In your bathrooms, like in summer times, you get these pink rings, you get this mold, mildew. This is all microbes. And so even though it's 2, 3, or 4 human beings living in a house, total number of G is just mind-boggling, Any comments, any question, anything so far? Okay. So I was talking about your house. Let's talk about our region, our broad region, North Carolina. See, when you are flying in the plane or landing at RDU, you look down and you see there is pockets, there is pockets of urbanization, pockets of, construction, urban life, cities. These are small pockets where humans are living. But if you look at the broad area, it's all woods, it's all jungles, forest, so in a large piece of land, in very small areas are occupied by humans. The rest is all, natural areas, wooded areas. You don't see any manushya, but you see Tiryansh there, આ બધા insects there, you see plants, weeds, microbe. They are in all these green areas you see here. It's just so many jeeves present, and in these white spots you have the human life, right? I'm just trying to give you a perspective on, like, because 6 billion seem like a large number, it's 6 billion manushya, but just imagine how many total number of jeeves are there. Let's go to the Indian subcontinent. This is densely populated. This is Asia and these parts of the world. I think we have what, 4 billion people here, 3, 4, 5 billion people maybe here. But if you look at the broad area, all these oceans, all these, the mountain range, the Himalayan mountain range, all these, the deeply green areas like Vietnam, Indonesia. So we have a large number of humans, but we have a billion times larger, a trillion times larger number of jeeves, not only trillion, a gazillion, quadrillion, keep adding zeros, So humans are such a small percentage of total number of jeeves. And, and that's what makes it special. It's, I think the probability of obtaining a human life is, I was just doing some calculations. It's the probability is probably lower than winning a Powerball. I mean, just we having earned Manushya life, I think we have really, it's won a big lottery, or it's a tremendous accomplishment just to be born as a human. Because if you're not a human, if you are in one of these lower levels, it's just too many of jeeves. They have Jain Dharma. It's there is a term called Anantanand. See, in math and physics in school and college, we learn about infinity. Infinity is like there is no end. And infinity no translation is Anant. But Jain Dharma, they have taken it to the next level. They call it Anantanand. So કેટલા જીવો હોય છે? અનંતાનંત. અને એમાંથી a small percentage is મનુષ્ય જીવ. Okay, let me remove these things here. Once again, so going back to the spectrum of life, so the lowest so far we have seen is the Nigodna Jivo, the bacteria, the microbes, but the microbiology is the study of all these. What's below the microbes is Narki, or the hell. And this is lower. I mean, the creatures living in hell are technically lower than, they are the lowest form of life. And there is 7 different hells, in a descending order. 7th hell is the worst of all. It's just suffering. If you are in Narki, your life is full of suffering. It's, I believe all of the jeeves in Narki are Panchindriya, and because you can't put a bacteria in Narki. I mean, for bacteria, it's no different, But for Panchindriya jeev, if you are in Narki, there is pain, there is suffering every second, every minute. So that's the lowest form of life. So what's the highest form of life? Highest form of life is even more difficult to achieve than Manushya Jeev, and this is Devlok. આપણે જે વાત કરતા હોઈએ છીએ, દેવ, દેવીઓ, these are all up in the Devlok above us. And Devlok has, again, there is levels. There is 16 different Devloks. And as you move higher up, it's progressively it gets difficult, so see, Manushya Jeev is durlabh. It's difficult to achieve. Devlok is far more difficult to achieve. And Emma be going up into the higher Devloks is, I mean, it's an extraordinary privilege. If you are in Devlok, if you are in these, the higher levels of Devlok are called Vaimanik Devlok. It's so Narki is at the bottom, pure suffering, pure hell, and this Devlok is at the top. This is Swarg, right? આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહીએ સ્વર્ગ. Swarg is it's just beautiful life full of pleasure, life full of joy. It's see, in Manushya life we have we have our struggles, we have ups and downs. I think Devlok is different. It's just a pure pleasure. And અને એમ પણ કે છે કે દેવલોકમાં આયુષ્ય પણ ઘણું લાંબુ હોય છે. So average human life is maybe 80-100 years. A devlokma their ayushya is thousands of years, saying thousands of years, maybe even 10,000 years. And so it's all pure pleasure, it's pure joy. You have Devi, you have Apsarao, and and the other beauty of Devlok is it's youthful life. It's like people are young. They've like you cannot imagine an old Dev ke Talio, like me Talio Dev ke like a obese Devi or anything. These people are just handsome, beautiful, they are youthful, they have good life, all the pleasures and everything. So this covers the whole spectrum of life. Manushya, then below we see the animals, the Chaurindriya, Terindriya, Beindriya, plants, all that Narki, and up above is Devlok, right? Any questions? I like this audience. બધું સમજાઈ જતું લાગે છે. Okay. All right. Let's move to the next slide. So once again, this is the full spectrum of life. But the key question is, what determines where we are placed in this full circle of life, spectrum of life. So every jeev, every soul, again, this is in simple terms because I want to kind of downplay the theory. Every jeev, every soul has a report card, right? It's your college transcript, or it's your report card, or your grade report, your how you've been performing, so far. And the report card is actually very complex. કારણ કે આપણે there is 8 પ્રકારના કર્મો અને પાપ and punya, and so the report card collectively is very complex. But in essence, even though the report card is complex, at a high level, the report card will determine the form of your life. So in very simple terms, your report card has we can distill it into two different things. One is, what I call the dead points. This is your devu. These are the negative points in your report card. And a devu is, devu means you're borrowing. Devu is something you have to pay back. So these are your dead points. These are your karma. These are your path. And you have to pay your dues. And then the other part is your reward points or your punya. Once again, this is a very simplistic view of your report card, but I think it's it kind of captures the essence of where you end up in this spectrum of life. So collectively, it's your karma and your punya. It will determine where you end up, whether you are born as an animal, whether you're born as as a plant, or in a very rare case, you are in Devlok or you are in human life. And so every soul has a large number of dead points, has certain number of reward points, and collectively, this it kind of some sort of extraction of this report card uh, determines the body of your life, and not only the body of your life but also the circumstances of your life. Talking about circumstances of life, let me give you an example. Okay. So Tiryanch is all the animals, right? And you could be born as a, let's say, your report card had certain numbers, certain points and things, that you were born as a lion. Now you could be, a lion in the African jungle, the Kalahari jungle. You could be the lion king of the jungle, and you are ruling over the entire wildlife in that Kalahari jungle. That's your circumstance as a lion. But think about the counterpart, the adverse circumstance. You could be a lion in some zoo, in some city, say in a Timbuktu. Could be a lion in a zoo in Timbuktu, where you have nothing to rule over. You are considered king of the jungle, but now you are in a cage. See, compare and contrast the circumstances. One lion is ruling over the jungle, the other lion is trapped in a cage. So once again, it's your, so they both had enough value in their report card that they were born as lion, but there were additional things, maybe their reward points, that one was a free roaming in the jungle and one was trapped in a zoo where he may not be getting enough to eat, and maybe every 2-3 days they may be tossing a piece of meat or something. So this is a even with the same form of life, same body, your circumstances can be vastly different. Let's talk about Shaurindriya Najio, Maki, right? Flies and bees. These are 4 Indriya Jivos. Now you could be a honeybee in the Asheville Mountains in an organic honey farm, where where honey is produced and the farm owners take good care of their bees, and they go around on the flowers and come back and they are human, they are treated humanely, and the honey is collected, and so as a honeybee you have a decent life out in the Asheville Mountains. But you may be a fly, in some rundown areas, in some part of some poor country, in open air, toilets, and you may be a fly circling, maki circling on field and garbage, so see how with the same similar kind of body, how your circumstances can be vastly different, right? Talking about plants, you could be a beautiful tree, a majestic oak tree in front of the state capitol in downtown Raleigh, and where all the tourists are coming. Oh, look at this 100-year-old oak tree, and taking pictures with that state capitol in the background, a lot of those statues and thing, capital of North Carolina. Or you could be as a plant, you could be moss, you could be a lil, આપણે કહીએ ને લીલ, પેલું ક્યાંક sewer leak થતી હોય તો there is ત્યાં લીલ જામતી હોય છે, that's also a form of a plant, right? So you are in a filthy area, a form of a vegetation in a filthy area. You could be a weed in somebody's yard and people are pulling out these weeds, versus a beautiful tree somewhere, on the coastline, the palm trees, and everybody loves to see those palm trees. So see the difference in the circumstances, it's like, and all that is encoded, in your report card, in your transcript. At a high level, we call it apna karma and punya. It's a lot more complex than that. It's a lot more detailed than that, because in Jain Shastrama there is a thing called Nam Karma and Gautra Karma, and these are the things in collection with other types of karma. They determine your life, your circumstances, your day-to-day struggles, the suffering, the joys, and whether you are down here in Narki or in Devlok. So once again, let me pause here. Maybe let me see if I can minimize. So આ છે આપણું 7 લાખ સૂત્ર, અને this such a concise, short 8-10 લીટીનું સૂત્ર છે, but this pretty much captures the full spectrum of life. And we recite it in all our pratikaman. We at the end we seek michami dukkanam from every single form of life, from one vachan ane kayati, yeah. Okay, any questions, anything, comments? Okay, so let me move on. Sorry, I just had to go step by step here once again to get back to where I was. This is where we are. So once again, it's your report card that determines where you are placed. Okay. Fortunately, all of us are in Manushya life here right now, and let's see where we could be going from here. So think about our next life. Once again, it's going to be a great report card, and based on that, our next life will be determined. So from Manushya, your next life can potentially be a Tiryansh. You can be, in your next life, you can be born as an animal, a fish, a bird, or whatever. This is a very likely outcome that that many of us will be descending down into the next lower level in our next life. Where else can we end up? Now, if we really live a terrible life, a criminal life, if we do, if our report card deteriorates, if suddenly we acquire, large number of dead points, and, we could end up in hell. It's if we truly are a bad person, and so very little chance that any of us would end up in narki. Generally narki is for, it happens to people who are in very powerful position. These are the kings, the politicians, because see, they make decisions, the policy decisions that affects a large number of people, and wrong policy decisions, they acquire so many karmas, so many dead points, that they end up in narki. So one likely outcome that our next life could be Tiryansh. Second likely outcome is narki, a lower possibility. What is the third possibility? The third possibility is we could be reborn as Manushya. This is the most desired outcome. I think we kind of have to live our current life in a way that we maintain our report card, where we maintain our transcript, our grades, and all our debt points and reward points. We maintain it in a way that we are reborn as a Manushya in our next life. And then the fourth outcome is what I call the dream outcome, is you end up in Devlok. So based on all that description, Dev, Devi, Apsara, pure joy, and all that, when I heard about it, I said, yeah, we need to really, let's live a life in a way that we end up in Devlok. એટલે એ ટાઈપનું just thinking, some thoughts came. એ ટાઈપની આશા બંધાણી કે આપણે let us truly, live the day-to-day life, every minute, every hour. પછી જે મને જે જાણવા મળ્યું, એના પરથી એ બધી આશા પર પાણી ફરી વળ્યું કે દેવલોક it's essentially impossible for us to get to, and I'll explain to you in the next slide. But so these are the four different outcomes for all of us in our next life. This is called the char gati. apni you may have heard the term char gati. So Manushya char gati, this is it. You can end up as a Tiryansh, narki, reborn as a Manushya. It's the most desirable outcome, not necessarily most likely outcome. And then there is the Devlok. That's the Chothi gati. Okay, let's move on. Anand, how much more time we have?
Yeah, you have about 20 to 20 minutes roughly.
20 minutes. Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to stop the presentation right now and go into the grid mode. So I can see, I can see who all are attending and couple minutes, and I'm going back into the presentation in a couple minutes. But I want to open this up for at least some feedback, some interaction, and let's see how many we have. We have many participants, and almost everybody's video is off. But once again, you can unmute. Anyone wants to have any comment, any thought, anything? Do you like it so far, or?
I mean,
So,
personally, I'll go first. Personally, that graphic was really good. Nice job.
Thank you.
You know what? Working for corporations, right? All my life. I can tell you that, when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, this is definitely one of those examples, right? And, this might be a good, maybe like a piece of material we can include for our youth, right? Because it's easy, at least personally for me, and I consider myself in the terms of like evolution probably way at the bottom, like in terms of my understanding of Jainism and Jain principles. But so if I can understand and follow this graphic, I'm sure anybody can.
Exactly.
But it was nicely done, and the way you explained it, that was nicely done. Maybe just as a way of feedback, some
Yes.
examples, because there are the words are obviously for younger youth. They may not know what Tiryanch is, or they may not know. So maybe right on that graphic, show some pictures
Translation.
or exactly, so that way they immediately can follow.
Thank you.
Question.
હા બોલો હર્ષદભાઈ.
તમે જે માનવ શરીર પછી માનવ ગ્રહ પછી આ જે જુદા જુદા જગ્યાનું વાત કીધી કે એનો જીવ ત્યાં જશે, તો કેવળ જ્ઞાન માટે કયો રસ્તો સાચો?
Excellent question. અને I do have that information on the same slide, but I deliberately held that back. એટલે હું પાછું presentation start કરું ને હર્ષદભાઈ,
હાજી,
ત્યારે I will show that to you.
ઓકે.
એટલે એ 4 ગતિ તો છે જ, પણ there is a મોક્ષ માર્ગ, અને I will show it to you. Yeah, definitely good, very good question. I'm so glad you noticed that.
થેન્ક યુ.
Yeah.
હું મારું વિડીયો બંધ કરું છું.
Okay. So thank you, Anand, Harshadbhai. Anyone else wants to say anything?
I'll make one small comment.
Yes.
I think it's very good presentation, good explanation. But I think you started out well by saying it's for the young people, but then the subsequent things became more descriptive of the Jain Shastra and Agam, and then you may lose interest from the young people about all the different gatis. And also, one other comment that, like Harshad Bhai just mentioned also, that Devlok is not necessarily the best. I think your next slide presentation will help that clarify. I think you're getting there. But so far, we have not heard about the option of the Siddh. What you described is the Sansari life, the one with the body. નારકીનું બોડી કે તિર્યંશનું બોડી કે મનુષ્યનું બોડી કે દેવલોકનું બોડી પણ જે અશરીરી અવસ્થા છે જૈનિઝમમાં શાસ્ત્ર પ્રમાણે that is the ultimate, not દેવલોક is not the ultimate. આપણા માટે કદાચ અલ્ટિમેટ હોઈ શકે પણ દેવલોકમાંથી તમારે પાછું મનુષ્યમાં આવીને પછી સિદ્ધલોકમાં જઈ શકાય જે કેવળ જ્ઞાનની અવસ્થા છે એ એટલે I think we need to introduce that concept from the very beginning rather than coming much later. Otherwise, people who are listening may come back with the idea that, all right, this is all we have to do is to continue in this punya pap on depth points, on reward points, but we are not getting out of the cycle. And in Jainism, the goal is to get out of the cycle of shariri bhav, sansari bhav, and go to the ashariri bhav, which is the siddh lok. So just some comments about that.
Thank you. No, Mahesh bhai, all valid points. And thank you for that feedback. So let me get back into the, unless બીજા કોઈએ કંઈ કહેવું હોય, so just speak up. Otherwise, I'm going back to the presentation. And no, definitely, I think you make good points. You know, if this primary audience is the younger generation, I need to lower the theory content even more and replace some of these terms with more modern terms. Okay, so okay, so we are back in my presentation mode. Yeah, okay. So let me just go quickly through this. This is our, you know, the dead points and the reward points, your collective scorecard, even though keep in mind the actual report card is far more complex. So to Harshad Bhai's point, and also to Mahesh Bhai's point. So what we are missing here, so this is the full spectrum of life, but what we are missing here is moksha life, okay? So these are the 4 potential outcomes: 1, 2, 3, reborn as a human or in Devlok. So where is the moksha mark? Okay, the moksha mark is a separate path from Manushya Jeev. See, I have this arrow here. So you are not going into Devlok, but moksha marg is a separate route. It's a separate route. It's a very complex route. And but nonetheless, there is a route, there is a path to get to Siddhashila. Okay. And that's your Siddhashila. So Manushya, if you really make an effort, if you are truly fortunate and do everything right, you can get liberated you can get liberated from this circle of life, from this spectrum of life, and you can end up in Siddha Shila, where Asiddha Jivo, you know, and then there is no more birth and death. It's just pure bliss. અને આપણે જ્યારે કહીએ નમો અરિયંતાણમ નમો સિદ્ધાણમ, so Arihant and Siddha, they are all up there, and they have escaped the circle of life. You know, I showed પેલું 7 લાખનું સૂત્ર, 84 lakh yoni, and all that. You are out of it. It's a very difficult path to get there, but it is there. And you know, if I have some extra time at the end, I will show you the path to get to Siddha Shila. Okay. All right. So in the meantime, let's you know, focus back on this primary spectrum of life. So you know, couple months back આપણે દિવાળીની meeting હતી, અને પ્રવીણભાઈ made a presentation, કારણ કે દિવાળી એટલે મહાવીર નિર્વાણ દિન, અને પ્રવીણભાઈ made a presentation on 27 past lives of ભગવાન મહાવીર, you know, and I captured it. This is from, you know, I captured it from his presentation. This only shows the second half of his of slide. We are starting from 15th life up to the 27th life of Mahavir Swami, you know. So let's see how, you know, how was the path, how was, you know, what different paths Bhagwan Mahavir traveled through. So in his 15th life, Bhagwan was પાંચમા દેવલોકમાં હતા, you know, up here, fifth Brahmalok.
આ બધી ખબર છે? પાંચમા દેવ ભગવાન ક્યાં હતા?
એટલે જગદીશભાઈ, are you asking?
No, sorry.
So yeah, no, okay, so he was, you know, he was in the fifth Devlok, and then he came down, he was reborn. In his next life he came down as Manushya ane Vishwabhuti. Again, this is, you know, Praveen Bhai nu, you know, this is from Praveen Bhai's presentation. I think many of you attended, અને જો ધ્યાનથી attend કર્યું હોય તો you would remember. On, like, you know, many people meeting માં dial કરે, પછી mute કરી દે, video off કરીને પછી રસોડું ચાલતું હોય and all that, then you won't remember any of this, you know. Just joking, but this is from the Diwali presentation. So he came down 16, he came down as a human, Vishwabhuti, he took Diksha. And then in his next life, he went back up, Devlok. Now he went to even higher Devlok. See, પાંચમામાં હતા, હવે સાતમામાં પહોંચ્યા. Again, he came down and he became King Tripushta Vasudev, King Prajapati. And I don't know all the details, but he was a king. He was a very powerful person. And where he ended up, see, after holding a very powerful position, he ended up in hell. Which hell? The bottommost hell, seventh hell. This is Bhagwan Mahavir, okay, in his 19th life. So what happened is, I think most likely as a king, he made some policy decisions where, you know, Praja was not happy. Whatever he did, he ended up in the worst possible place in this entire spectrum, seventh life. Again, I don't know how many, you know, I think Narkima be just like Devlok, Narkima be Lambo Ayushya hoy che, ane so Mahavir suffered through all that. And then he came back, he was reborn as a lion, as a Tiryanch up here. That this is Bhagwan Mahavir, came back as lion. Now, as a lion, he was probably a king of the jungle. He probably did wrong things, you know, maybe the lower animals, smaller animals, all that, hunted this, that. So he went back into the hell, but this time fourth hell. not the seventh hell, only the fourth hell. Still, it's anarchy. It's all just suffering, you know. It's like, see, hell ma tame ho. Narki, you have all panch indriya, and then you are suffering through all of that. You know, what you see, what you hear, what you feel, touch. It's because the more indriya you have, higher is the suffering, you know. So Mahavir was in fourth hell. Well, he escaped. He came out of the hell, came back as a human. He lived a pious life, simple life. And then once again, he was born as a human. Priyamitra Chakravarti. And King Dhananjay, you know. Again, this is, you know, Praveen Bhai knows a lot more about this than I do, you know. So he was born as a human. He took Diksha. And where did he end up? Next life, he ended up seventh Devlok. Up there, you know, in the middle of the Devlok. Once again, he came down, Prince Nandan, and then Prince Nandan Tarike, King Jishashru, Bhadra Devi, Prince Nandan, and then Bhagwan Mahavir, he was a human, you know, prince, still a human being, and then Nandan Muni banya, a Diksha lene Nandan Muni banya. And then where he ended up? He ended up in 10th lok. This is the highest that Mahavir achieved, okay? I don't know who has achieved 15th and 16th, but Mahavir only went up to 10th, at least based on, you know, what we know about his lives. So 10th is, this is a small typo here. It's called Pranat, P-R-A-N-A-T, P-R-A-N-A-T, Pranat Devlok. So Mahavir was in 10th Pranat Devlok, and then he came down again as a human being, as Vardhman, and you know, and became Bhagwan Mahavir. So when he came down as a human, as you know, as Prince Vardhaman, he still had his report card. You know, there were the death points. You know, the Devu Laina Avela. I'm sure he had reward points, and a reward point nearly there. He was born as a prince. You know, in that apne Kundal Gram, you know, he was born as a prince because of his because of excellent report card that he had. And from, you know, and in that life, in his last life, Mahavir was no longer in this cycle of birth and death. Mahavir actually took this separate path to liberate his soul. Right? So Mahavir was Vardhman તરીકે born હતા. 30 વર્ષે એને રાજપાટ વૈભવ બધું છોડી દીધું. He took Diksha, he renounced everything. અને 30 વર્ષથી 42 વર્ષ 12 વર્ષ એને સાધના કરી. And you know, so when you do sadhana, when you do tapasya, sadhana, you really reduce your dead points. And that's the only way to get to Siddha Shila. So from the age of 42, I think from 30 to 42, he did intense sadhana. I don't know how many, you know, Praveen Bhai has explained to us, he hardly ate any meals, maybe one meal per month or even less than that, you know. But dhyan, sadhana, and this is what's called nirjara, and you know, so he totally reduced his dead points in our karma. At the age of 42, he achieved keval gnan. And so see, when you are at keval gnan, your dead points are, I mean, you have very few dead points left, and then you are just like taking care of your aghati karma. And at the age of 72, emnu nirvan thayu, and it became Siddh. We call him Arihant because he, you know, સંઘની સ્થાપના કરી, the ચાર, you know, Shravak, Shravika, Sadhu, Sadhvi, all that. That's all Mahavir's life. But So that was his 27th life, but all his previous lives, he was stuck in the in the circle of life and death, just like we are. He was lion, he went to hell, he came to Devlok, and and all those things. So so I told you earlier, Devlok is all pure joy. It's youthful life. Nobody gets old. You have Devi, Apsara, beautiful life, enjoyable life. એટલે I studied this મેં કીધું કે આમાં ભગવાન મહાવીરને દેવલોક ક્યારે મળ્યું. Okay, so let's see, 17th life he got સાતમા દેવલોકમાં. Okay, but in 16th life, what did he do? He took Diksha. So he took Diksha. Next life he has Devlok. Now he in 24th life, look, 24th life again he is in Devlok. What did he do in previous life? He took Diksha. You see what I am getting at? And then he went to the 10th in 26મી life ma 10th Pranat Devlok. And then what did he do in his previous life? He took Diksha. So what do you infer? You infer that, I mean, you almost need to, you want to go to Devlok, you almost need to take a Diksha in your current life. Because see, only then your report card will enhance, will be upgraded to that level. Okay, you are eligible to enter into Devlok. So here we have 3 examples in Mahavir's life: Diksha and then Devlok, Diksha and Devlok, Diksha and Devlok. And so Devlok is not it's difficult, and that to become Siddha is even more difficult. Let me quickly show you. So I'll just take 3-4 more minutes, Anand, and then I'll be done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this, Harshad bhai, glad you mentioned that point ke I'm a moksha marg. So what is the path to moksha marg? Okay. So apna Praveen bhai is currently conducting lectures. He's conducting a workshop on Chaud Gunsthanak, and let me see. And this is his workshop group. I believe there's global audience, people from London and from everywhere. And I attended his the last couple sessions. And so what is the path to liberation? What is the path to moksha marg? And this is Praveen Bhai's slide. And so basically you have to go from first Gunsthanak, which is Mithyatva, all the way up to 14th. And it's a very difficult path. People, and what he says, it's like it's logical, but it's not chronological, and it's so all that. And along the path you can fall down, and you may have to restart everything. But at least we know કે ભગવાન મહાવીર, after જે 12 વર્ષની જે સાધના કરી, see એને જે શ્રાવકમાંથી he renounced, દીક્ષા લીધી, અને then he steadily progressed to કેવલ જ્ઞાન, which is 13મું ગુણસ્થાનક. અને પછી તમારા જે ફાઇનલ જે કર્મ તમારા જે હોય, your report card is completely clear, down to 0. You are down to 0 dead points, 0 reward points, 0. That's your nirvana. That you become siddha. So that's but this is a topic, it's a complex topic, and only Praveen bhai can he can explain this into details. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse. Okay, there is a path to moksha marg. It's difficult, but nonetheless it's there. Okay, so with that, one final slide I have is acknowledgements. You know, as Anand, when he introduced me, he mentioned about my mother, and she gave me the foundation for Jain Dharmanu Foundation. But of course, we want to acknowledge Praveen Bhai, Ramesh Bhai Fofaria for આપણા JSCNC ની સ્થાપના કરવા માટે, જૈન સંઘની સ્થાપના કરવા માટે. Praveen Bhai has done so many discourses. He continues to do the discourses, not only for JSCNC, but in a global forum, on a global platform. There's always things to learn from him. Jota has conducted many sessions, and I view him as, you know, as a scholar, and so these are things to, you know, Jota has conducted many discourses, learned from him. Arti Ben. So see, when my kids were in middle school, you know, there was a parents like there was a discussion કે તમારે કઈ, you know, કઈ issue હોય, કઈ કામ કઢાવવાનું હોય, something you want to get done, don't go to the principal, go to the vice principal. એટલે મારે કઈ સવાલ હોય ને તો હું કે આરતીબેન ને ફોન કરું. It's Praveen Bhai is too busy for me. Principal is too busy. I also don't want to bother him. He's got Jaina, this, that. But Artiben ne phone karu in a few minutes. She knows a lot. She's able to explain in a nice way, you know. So you know, acknowledgement to Artiben. Then there is Rasila Ben. She's in Mumbai, and she's a Pathshala principal in Matunga Jain Sangh. My mother was her student. And I talk to her maybe once a month. I talk to her and discuss some topics. And then we have aspiring scholars in our center, Mahesh Bhai, Amit Potiwala, and all these people. And talking about Potiwala, Amit, I think next month is going to talk about Nirjara and Dhyan, which is basically means how you can reduce your dead points, you know, how you can lower that count. And so that's going to be in the December meeting. And finally, thank you to, you know, all of you, the આપણું JSCNC, the Sangh members whom you are attending, and Sangh, and of course Anand and the committee who are administering the Sanchalan, and they're doing a wonderful job of you know, managing the regular activities, introducing new activities. The panel they did, we have this Virginia trip coming up, so, you know, bringing new ideas, new activities. So thank you to Anand as well as the whole committee, and thank you to everybody listed here. And that's the end of my presentation, and let me stop sharing. And if there is time, we can take some questions.
Thank you, Rajan Bhai. Thank you for kind words. You know, I know, I mean, I've had the, you know, pleasure of knowing you for probably over a decade now. So, you know, you and I have had occasional conversations about different topics related to Jainism, but I'm so glad that you took the time to put together your thoughts in a really, you know, concise but very powerful visual, powerful slide. And ultimately, you know, I look at these things as people engage, even if they understand and walk away, you know, with just the concept of reward points and dead points, right? Like these are very easy to follow, easy to understand, but very powerful topics. So thank you for your time. If there are no more questions, well, let me ask just real quick if anyone have any final questions. We can maybe take one or two questions.
Anand,
Yes, Jagdish bhai.
I don't have any comment. I mean, but I have a comment. I don't have any question. Rajan, thank you. But it looked like your hairstyle and mustache and that. Now you look like a little Einstein. Thanks for all the hard work.
આટલું જ્ઞાન મેળવીએ એટલે ઓટોમેટિક આઈન્સ્ટાઈન સાથે સરખામણી થવા માંડી.
But I seriously, it looks like with the hairstyle and all, you look little like him.
Thank you. Yeah.
Probably start sporting some facial hair too. Then it will be a complete look. No, but thank you, Jagdish bhai. Let us switch to our next segment, and then we will wrap up today's meeting. So once again, on behalf of the entire community, Rajan bhai, thank you, and we look forward to having you back. I think you and I had a conversation recently. So as
Yes.
we work on establishing 2022 scholar pool, and start kind of identifying not only our existing scholars who we have benefited from for years and years, probably decades at this point, but also some new faces who can present to us and continue to kind of give us the benefit of their wisdom and knowledge. So thank you. So with that, I just have a couple of key announcements. So first, I would like to just kind of go through a couple of acknowledgements. First one, the youth panel that Rajan bhai mentioned. I would like to thank Purvi and all of the youth participants. Purvi is our youth coordinator, and she kind of came up with this idea, and it was very well received. I was able to participate as well in the panel, and it was just wonderful to see the panelists as well as the participants to exchange and share ideas. Purvi had done a lot of hard work preparing them. All the panelists were kind of given a preview of questions, so that way they have an opportunity to research and come up with kind of relevant answers and some examples from their personal life. So it was a great session. That recording is on our YouTube channel. So if anyone who would like to just skim through it, even if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I recommend that you go to our YouTube channel and look for that recording. Next, I'd like to thank Ajay bhai for leading another annual tradition that we have at JSCNC, which is the Crop Walk Initiative. The World Church Ministries, it's one of the beneficiaries of this effort. And Ajay bhai has been kind of spearheading that for many years now. So we raised roughly over $3,000 as an institution that we donated. And of course, because of COVID, we couldn't do the actual walk. It used to happen, back in the days when pre-COVID, it used to happen in Raleigh downtown. Beautiful locations, but unfortunately, because of COVID and not being able to gather as larger groups, all of the groups did more of a kind of a small group. They call it virtual walks, but just means smaller groups would form and walk based on the NC state guidelines. So it was a great event. Check out our newsletter. The newsletter has a link to crop walk pictures. So you can kind of get a sample of how we did as a group. And then the next one is thanks to Pritesha, we were able to finally resume our annual, actually I should say biannual kind of an obligation as a center to keep a stretch of highway which is under the governor's Adopt a Highway initiative. So we were able to go there a couple of weeks ago. It was a crisp fall morning, like any typical fall morning, and we had some youth as well as adults show up. And then we finished, kind of our fall responsibility of picking up litter and um, and disposing it off. I think we collected probably like 12 or so bags, not just trash, but recyclable materials too. So it was great effort, and I think I'm pleased to announce that we're now back on the regular schedule for highway cleanup. Because of COVID, we had to take a break. We couldn't do it last year. We definitely had to skip that in spring, but we're now back on track. Next one, I'd like to remind everyone that kind of almost a historic thing we're doing. As probably many of the old timers will remember, we've always talked about like traveling as a sangh to temples or other religious places, and we're actually going to be going to Richmond because of COVID and because of obviously still being careful and cautious. We're not going to do an overnight trip. It's just going to be a day trip. We're going to be visiting the temple over there, as well as participate in Snatra Puja. Surprisingly, we had like originally targeted for maybe a small bus, and it turned out that roughly 52 people signed up all within a matter of days. So that shows you the amount of interest that the community has for these types of events. This will be our first jatra, as a group, at least in recent memory. So, I'll be looking for help from all the participants and volunteers. I think we have a great pool, but I think it's going to be a memorable event. Yeah, as I was saying, the whole event was full. Like as soon as we announced it in a few days, and people are looking forward to attending it. The entire Jatra, I'm also pleased to announce that we have found all the sponsors. So Arvind Bhai and Aruna Ben are sponsoring the entire Jatra. And we also are going to provide some snacks on our way back. So the morning breakfast that is provided by Badal Bhai Hina Ben Mehta and Paresh Bhai Nisha Ben Mehta. They have decided to sponsor that event. So we'll, like I said, a good idea. Great thought that was put forward to the community, and within a matter of days we were able to get all the participants signed up, and then we had volunteer sponsors to step forward to support this initiative. So I'm thankful to all of them. One more announcement. So for a while, I think again, people who have been here a long time, Praveen Bhai, Jagdish Bhai, Lodayas, Kamlesh Bhai, you remember that, a few years back, even Rajan Bhai, I think a few years back, our youth, we had like a good representation with YJA. So like Akash and, Mihir and Kunal, I know they've spent many years, doing holding great events for YJ, including chairing executive positions. So I think since last year we have started to kind of see so we had a lull for a few years, but then we're starting to see a lot of increased youth participation. We have a couple of new local representatives that were selected. Monisha, my son, Vanshi Mota and Parsha, they are our local representatives. And then Daksh Mota, who I think some of you saw along with Monish a few months back when we had the youth conduct our our monthly meeting. he is been appointed as the Southeast Regional Coordinator. So, if you have a chance, if you happen to know the youth or their parents, I would encourage you to reach out to them and compliment them, and definitely as they come up with new initiatives for youth engagement in our Research Triangle Park region, please help them out in any way you can. So with that, I'm going to invite Praveen Bhai to say a quick Thanksgiving prayer, and after Praveen Bhai, Sejal, we will talk about the Pathshala segment. Just as a by way of a reminder, this is the 400th Thanksgiving Day. Those who kind of remember the history. So it's a significant day, kind of a milestone Thanksgiving Day. And Praveen Bhai always sends a great Thanksgiving prayer. So I thought, maybe we take this opportunity for him to say a Thanksgiving prayer in the meeting. So Praveen Bhai, are you ready? I think you are muted.
Let me share my page prayer and then we can just recite it that way. Okay. Share the content. This one, share. Okay, I hope people can see it. Can you see it, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can see it.
That's great. And 1 minute, let me undo my screening. Stop sharing. 1 minute. Okay, just 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. And just as he's setting up, anyone who wants
no, I'm just
anyone who at home, if you want to, fold hands or just turn on the video and
my video is not on. That's the reason.
but that's okay, Praveen Bhai. We can hear you. Okay. So
I think everybody knows.
it's fine.
Okay. Now here is the Thanksgiving prayer. We do it also, this prayer during the Thanksgiving meal all over the place. This prayer become very popular actually. And it is not my collection. It is most of the information I got it from a Buddhist monk. Okay, it's a vegan. There is a vegan Buddhist group complete, and they are the one who put together, and we just edited couple of things and add Jain things into it. Okay, but it is very, very popular prayer nowadays. Okay, start any meal with the 7 contemplations or with whatever tradition or grace or prayer you prefer to use to express our gratitude to the meal. This food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, numerous living beings, and much hard work, much hard and loving work. May we eat with mindfulness and gratitude to be worthy of receiving it. The meal is so important in our life because that's where how we live, how we exist as a human being. And this is the things that it is. We have to eat mindfulness or awareness, whatever the words you use, but just to keep in mind that when you do anything with full awareness or full mindfulness, you cannot do wrong things. That is the basic nature of the human. If you are doing any work, and that's why if you do the mindful works, there are no karma attached to you. Okay, it doesn't matter what you do. May we recognize and transform our unwholesome mental formation, especially our greed, and learn to eat with moderation. Just whatever your healthy needed, that's what you eat. But any overeating or anything you waste food, that is a violence. That is a significant violence. If you waste something or if you are not eating healthy food, that is the violence, because you are destroying your health. And when you are destroying your health, you use so much resources, everything, because of your taste. But maybe keep our compassion alive by eating in such a way that we reduce the suffering of living beings, preserve our planet, and reverse the process of global warming. And now the global warming, it is the things we need to put highest priority, because that's how human being will survive, and other living beings. So got to keep in mind that one is, today, if I have to analyze the current situation, anything you can help to reduce or minimize global warming, that is the highest ahimsa, because you are not saving one life or anything, you are saving the whole humanity in that sense. Maybe ask for forgiveness from all living beings that we may have harmed intentionally or unintentionally. May peace and compassion grow in ourselves and extend to all around us. May we pray that all people everywhere in the world will avoid inflicting harm on animals and fellow human beings and practice non-violence and compassion. We accept this food so that we may nurture our sisterhood and brotherhood and strengthen our community and nourish our ideal of serving all living beings. So this is the kind of a, we say, we do before we begin the big meal, the Thanksgiving meal prayer. Okay, and just we need one. Arti wants to add something. Okay.
જય જિનેન્દ્ર ટુ ઓલ ઓફ યુ. આપણને બધાને ખ્યાલ છે કે આ દિવસે થેન્ક્સગિવિંગના દિવસ પહેલા અને તે દિવસે પણ ઘણી બધી ટર્કીની હિંસા કરવામાં આવશે અને આપણા શાતાના વાઇબ્રેશન્સ એ જીવોને કેવી રીતે મળે. અને આપણે બધા જ જેનાથી યથાશક્તિ, જેનાથી જે પ્રમાણે થઈ શકતી હોય કોઈ પણ એક્ટિવિટી, તો એ કરવાની. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ, 3 નૌકારનો કૌશગ અથવા 1 નૌકારવાળી, 1 સામાયિક, અથવા એ દિવસે એક જ દિવસ માટે લેટ અસ હેવ અ વીગન ડાયટ, અથવા તો 1 સામાયિક અથવા નૌકારશી કે જોવિયારનું પચખાણ. પણ છેવટે કાંઈ ન થાય તો ઘરની જે કાંઈ આપણે કામ કરતા હોઈએ એમાં આપણા શાતાના વાઇબ્રેશન્સ મોકલવાને માટે નૌકાર મંત્રનું સ્મરણ કરીએ અને એ જીવોને કેમ શાતા રહે એ પ્રમાણે આપણી ઈચ્છા રાખીએ, એવા પ્રમાણેના આપણા ભાવ રાખીએ. સો આ જસ્ટ મને જે વિચાર આવ્યો, અને બધાને આવ્યો જ હશે, પણ આઈ વોન્ટેડ ટુ પુટ માય થોટ્સ ટુ ઓલ ઓફ યુ. થેન્ક યુ.
Thank you very much. Sejal, actually, let me invite Sejal Shah, who is our Pathshala director. Both beautiful thoughts Praveen Bhai and Aarti Bene expressed kari. So she's going to share with us some activity updates we are doing in Pathshala. So Sejal, over to you.
Thank you. Jai Jinendra, everyone. So we have a couple of announcements from Pathshala perspective. Very first one is Parshara registration is on, so if you know anybody who is 4 years or above, they are more than welcome to register for our Parshara. It's currently going on and it is going to end on November 30th. So Ketan has already sent out an email, so please forward that email to anyone who would like to be part of our Parshara. And I can definitely say on behalf of our Parshara that the teachers are doing a great job, and it definitely will benefit your children or any children that you know. So please spread the message, and we would like to have our registration be done by November 30th. So that will help us plan our classes for next year as well. Second announcement is, please try to donate some of your time and step up to be a substitute teacher for Parshara. We are in desperate need for some substitution. The request has been made by Rita Ben and previous presidents and even Anand Bhai and everyone. So it just doesn't take too much. It's just you have to have that enthusiasm, willingness to learn and teach, and everything will fall in place. So please come forward, give your name for substitution. That would be a great help to all of us Parshara teachers. We also need a break sometimes. We also have some family obligations, and then we are literally trying to find substitution. We are not able to, and then it becomes a chaotic situation. We don't want our kids or the Parshara students not to have Parshara. So please try to give your name. It doesn't have to be that only the parents of Parshara students can become Parshara teachers. Anyone, it's open for anyone. So please give your names, and we can definitely talk about it. If you have any questions, just call me and we can talk about it as well. And last but not least, I'm just going to share one quick slide that the activity that we are planning to do for our Parshara students. So as I think Praveen Uncle and everybody mentioned, that this is the season of thanks and giving, a season of gratitude. So what we are doing is we are going to again do this initiative that is Compassion in Action. So what is this initiative? As I think Rajan Bhai mentioned, like we want our kids to learn the practical way to live our life in a Jain way. So this initiative is to encourage or to practice our core values of karuna, compassion, and friendship towards all living beings in day-to-day life, how they can incorporate this values. And all these values, like if you see compassion, if you see friendship, they all result in ahimsa or aparigraha. So all our values or our principles, they are so intertwined or so interrelated that we have to try to practice them every day, and we can practice them every day in a very simple way. So that is our motivation for the Parshara students to do that, to practice those values in their daily life. So it is going to run from November 21st to December 5th. So it is like they have to do one act of kindness or compassion every single day. And what is that going to lead to is one act of kindness will earn them some points, and those points are going to be converted to dollar amount. So our Jain Sangh will convert it to the dollar amount. So they are going to earn that money. The only condition is that those money earned has to be donated towards a good cause. So we have chosen, again this year, we have chosen the same charity as we did last year. It's Piedmont Animal Farm Refuge. It's our local animal farm sanctuary. It's like 20 minutes from Chapel Hill, or like 30-40 minutes from Raleigh or Cary. And our plan is that we are going to visit as a field trip for Parshara, or even as a community, we can go and visit this animal farm refuge. They are doing incredible work. Last year, they had like 20 acres of farmland, and now they have acquired more. So they are desperately in need of donations. And they are not just rescuing animals, but they are providing them security and lifelong care. And they have 120 plus animals. They are building shelters. Now they're going to take cows or pigs and all. So there are it's all volunteer-based organization. And if you talk to any volunteer, they will not just give you any random tours, but they will provide you informational tours. They will guide you, or they will answer your questions. They will talk about what is the reality of animal agriculture, what is really going on in the farming or dairy farms. So it's really a very educational tours, and that is what one of my goal is, that we, as either as a community or as Parshara, we can visit this sanctuary one day. Right now they are having certain tours, but not at the whole level because of this corona and all those things. So hopefully next year in 2022 we will try and coordinate one tour with them. And one thing I do want to mention, as Praveen uncle mentioned in one of the prayers, that be compassionate in what you eat. So we have to think about all the other living beings, or at least go vegan for one day on the Thanksgiving Day. And all these volunteers, they are all Americans. They were all non-vegetarians. They have not just turned into vegetarians, but they have turned into vegans, and they promote veganism. So it's really very, very inspiring. If you go to visit their website, and you will learn so many different stories about different animals and their own personal journey. It's really very, very rewarding. So, and finally, I just want to say that small gestures can change the world. So that is our goal for our Parshara students. And we will be seeing what we are definitely very excited. We are motivating. All the teachers are sending messages to their parents groups and reminding them that all the kids need to participate. So we hope that we have great participation and we can do a significant donation towards this charity. So just again, 3 quick things. Please register, please volunteer for Parshara substitution, and we look forward to our CIA activity. So thank you, and over to you, Anand. Bye, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, Sejal. And you know, as she mentioned, I can't emphasize it enough, right? Just you know, we are a small community, close-knit community, I might add. So anything you can do to support, you know, and I know for events, you know, we typically will have lots of people step forward, but you know, let's not forget Pathshala, right? We are blessed to have 4 incredible, you know, 4 or 5, because we keep I forgot about the new class, but yeah, we were fortunate to have 5 incredible teachers. But you know, if you go to like a regular school or any, you know, other schools for that matter, either volunteer run or otherwise, there's always going to be a pool of substitute teachers, right? In teachers are also existing as human beings, right? So sometimes they'll have something come up. Right now they're dedicated and they'll just, and I personally know, you know, some of them will work around their own personal obligations to make sure that they can hold a Pathshala class, right? So can't emphasize it enough. Please, you know, if you have some thoughts in helping out, reach out to Sejal. You know, ask questions. You can reach out to me if you have any questions or hesitations, and we'll love to, you know, get more names, more people step forward. As also speaking of the CI activity, so you know, Thanksgiving, I mean, usually Mahavir Jayanti is when I've seen it the most, but Thanksgiving is also kind of, I mean, keeping up with the time. And you know, we all live in America, which is, you know, does different things from India. So Thanksgiving is also, in my opinion, another great opportunity for us to think about Jivdaya. I mean, most people will think about it during Mahavir Jayanti, but this is also a great time to think about Jivdaya. So you could also, you know, send your contributions. I know with the Pathshala students, we have structured it in a specific way so that their gestures, as Sejal pointed out, turns into monetary contributions, which, you know, converts into a check that goes to the charity. But we don't have to do it that way, right? We can also augment what they're doing. So if you would like to, you know, contribute something to the Jivdaya Fund, send that. And what we'll do is any contributions received, you know, during this Thanksgiving week, and you can put that on the memo if you want to, but anything you received specifically towards Jeev Daya, we will, send it to this charity so that way we can maximize the contributions. So consider donating. And, as Sejal pointed it out really well, just volunteer, support the charities, think about Jeev Daya, and, finish the registration. I know parents of the Pathshala tier students are going to take care of it, but if you know anyone, just please spread the word. Finally, I'm just gonna, I think, Praveen Uncle shared that, and I think Aarti Auntie touched upon it too. And, Sejal had also that in her message, is think about specific things you could be incorporating in your Thanksgiving celebration. There's a short video that I'm going to play. It's an excellent initiative that is led by Jaina. So, I'm sure all families have their own, specific traditions for inspiration, but just as a suggestion, I'm going to share this. You can, take advantage of this. An email was sent out regarding this. So if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to, let me share this a different way. I encourage you to, find that email, but optimize for motion and video. That's the one. Can you guys see a video? Good. Okay.
Jai Janendra, everyone. This is Dr. Christopher Jain Miller. I'm the Bhagwan Malinath Assistant Professor of Jain Studies at Loyola Marymount University. And on behalf of Jaina and our collaborators at the Global Jain Network and the Jain Vegan Initiative, I want to extend an invitation to the global Jain community to renew your commitment to compassion and nonviolence. You may or may not know it, but every year, 50 million turkeys are slaughtered. 50 million turkeys are slaughtered to go on the Thanksgiving dinner plate. And this year, the 400th Thanksgiving in US history, on November 25th, 2021, we are asking the global Jain community to join us in a global fast as we seek to register at least 1,000 people worldwide to fast with us. There are several options that you could take in order to do this. You could either commit to just having a vegan Thanksgiving. If you already have Thanksgiving plans and you don't want to give up a whole meal, you can cut down to having a vegan Thanksgiving. You could also commit to just giving up one meal that day, or maybe 2 meals. Or if you're like me, and I am committing to do this, to do a full fast for the entire day of Thanksgiving on November 25th, 2021. We've provided a link along with this video in order for you to be able to register your information and your contact info. Please register there. Let us know what kind of a fast you're going to do, and we will reach back out to you all very shortly with more information about this important initiative as an expression of compassion and as an expression of nonviolence for the 50 million turkeys that will be slaughtered for Thanksgiving Day. Thank you so much for joining me and joining us in this very important initiative, and I will look forward to seeing you registering soon. Jai Janendra.
So there you have it, beautiful, beautiful message. And as Praveen Bhai, will always remind you, Jainism will make things easy for you to follow, right? So you don't necessarily, if you can't do, you can't do a tithe, then, there is a provision for Attam. You can't do Attam, there's provision for Chat. You can't do Chat, there's a provision for, a day of fast. I mean, you get my message, right? So, consider doing something. And if you can't do anything, as it was pointed out earlier, maybe go vegan for one day. Figure out a way you can be compassionate and incorporate that, in your Thanksgiving celebration. If you are interested and if you would like to sign up, like if you want to, do one of these acts, or maybe you always did it, but maybe to support this initiative, you would like to sign up. There was an email that was sent out, which has a link to a Google form, and you can fill out the Google form, with your information, and they're just going to use the information to show how many people did what type of activities, and Jaina will publish that after Thanksgiving or probably around Thanksgiving time. once they have all the people's pledges come in. So there's one other way you could incorporate that, and we will also send out the Thanksgiving prayer that Praveen Bhai shared with us earlier. You can print that, give and or send it to your children, and that could be something you could collectively recite. If you don't have an existing prayer already, a lot of families already have some existing prayers, but if you don't have anything or you want inspiration, we will send that out as well. So with that, I would like to invite Meenal to recite Uvasagaram and call this meeting to adjournment.
Thank you, Anand Bhai.
Go ahead, please.
Namo Rihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Airyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Sava Sahunam, Eso Pancha Namukaro, Sava Pava Panasano, Manglanancha Savasim, Padam Havai Mangalam. Uva Sagaharam, Pasam Pasam Vandami, Kamagana Vukam, Pisara Visa Vinasam, Mangala Kalana Avasam, Pisara Puling Mantam, Kante Dharai, Jo Sayamanuvo, Tasagaharog, Mari Dukujara Janti Uvasamam. चिट्ठा दुरे म्हणतो तुझ्यपणा मोवी वो फल होय नडतिरिये सोमी जीवा पावंतिय दुःख दोगच्चम तुह संबत्ते लब्धे चिंतामणि कप्पा पाय वपये पावंतिय विज्ञानम जीवायरा मरम ठाणम हिया संतो महायस भक्ति भर निबरेण हियण ता देव दिच्च बोहिम भवे भवे पास दिनचंद. जय जिनेंद्र everyone.
Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Badane. Happy Thanksgiving. And as it was reminded earlier, keeping up with the tradition of young and aspiring scholars, Amit Pothiwala is going to be presenting to us at the December meeting. We saved the best for the last, as some might say. So please take advantage. Make sure you dial into the December meeting.
No pressure, Anand. No pressure.
All right. Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.